Okay.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Things just rolled so fast to see.
I know it does. Everything goes by so fast.
Well, sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I texted you, Meredith. I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm sorry. Phone's in front of me, but silent.
Oh,
That's what I do.
anyway,
I do that.
yeah, I was up at Paradise Ridge and jumped on the freeway to, it's like,
Yeah, good luck.
just it's not that far away. And then it was just like, oh my God, it's bumper to bumper traffic.
Thanks.
Anyway, here I am. Do we have a quorum?
We do now?
Well, then it's my pleasure to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Absolutely. Chair Nathanson,
I am present.
Vice Chair Heaver,
Present.
Committee Member Fuentes,
Present.
and Committee Member Peters.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all committee members are present, with the exception of Committee Member Trejo Vasquez.
Great. Okay, there is no remote participation. Modifications to the agenda. Anybody have anything they want to change?
One of the patients.
Okay. There's nobody here from the public, so no public comments. We will move on to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections?
No.
Okay, I think we are ready to approve the minutes. Yeah, they are approved as submitted. Okay. Moving right along. Item number 7, scheduled items. We have a fiscal year 26-27 work plan. So, Meredith, if you would be so kind.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So as we're entering into June, I thought I'd try and get a little bit of ahead of the game. We usually do this in July or August, but I wanted to review where we're at this year, coming to a close, and as we're planning our budget for next fiscal year. It's a perfect time to review. I'd actually like to start at the end of the page to review where we're at today from last fiscal year's plan. So what I did is I copied over what our estimated expenditure was on each of those buckets, and then I outlined for you guys where we're at with that. So we had the temporary art walk installs that happened around October, and the estimated expenditure was $55,000. We had estimated doing 10 art installs and we only did 9. And this expenditure also had all of the labor costs in it, which came out to about $20,000 for the pouring of the concrete pads, the labor to do the installs, etc. The great thing about that is now we have those concrete pads for the additional shows coming up, right? So it's almost more of a one-time fee. The Arts Roundtable, we have not spent that much. There were still some fees that need to come out of this. This was beginning of May, this budget, and I expect about $250 more. So I think that for next year, as we're looking at the Arts Roundtable budget, it's pretty minimal of what we need to spend. Whether there's a space fee and some snacks, we actually have a lot of material. So I think I overestimated on that. Live at Juilliard, we went a little over. We had to pull some more of the sound budget out of that, and we had budgeted $8,000. So you'll note in this next fiscal year, I'll be putting that to about $12,000 that we'll be spending. Marketing and outreach, we do still have some more ads coming out of this, probably about 2,000 more this year. So I expect it to be about 3,500. I like to give us some room for this because if there's any really good, I'd like to do some advertising on smart trains for the summer with the art walk. And it may not hit obviously this fiscal year, but I think that we should always be giving ourselves a good amount for marketing and outreach with our programs. The art mapping project. We actually completed this in the sense at no cost. The intern came out of another bucket you'll see in the next couple lines. But there wasn't a cost for the actual GIS map, right? The art identification plaques, however, we did not do this year, and I would really like to see that this coming fiscal year now that we have the GIS map completed. We could look at doing plaques on each of the art pieces with a QR code so that they could go to the map. Program initiatives. last meeting, I believe it was, you approved Martine Zuniga and Michael McGinnis, 10,000 each. So there was 20,000 out of that. That was a TBD on our budget for different initiatives. Maintenance, we spent a little under 13,000. That was the Prince Memorial Greenway repairs that were approved, which is starting actually this month. Also note that on the art map, those are not on it because we're waiting for those to be repaired so we can get good photos of them to put up. And then we did spend some on anti-graffiti coating that we've used. The intern, we budgeted 18,000. That's for a full fiscal year. Elizabeth started with us, I believe it was in October, and she received a full-time job at the city. So she's actually starting this month there. We pulled 10,000, a little over 10,000 for her out of this. And we did budget for our full-time arts and events specialist position. However, we've been using a separate fund this fiscal year for that. But we'll need to note that in next fiscal year.
Is that Bryce?
Some of Bryce and then some of Mackenzie. So Bryce was being pulled out of, I think his was, 4,905 was Bryce. That was the art consultant. But we had budgeted 35,100 for the full year of a portion of the full-time position. But we're able to take that out of a different fund so thus far. Public art master plan update. TBD, that's going to be a little expensive. I think I'd like to look for a grant for that. I don't think we're in a position to fund that, but I think that now that we've done the impact report from the strategic plan, really would be a great next step forward for us to do. Conferences and trainings, Mackenzie and I went to the California Arts Council Summit, and that came to $750 for both of us. So we did not spend the full 3,000. So all that together came to 110,000, a little over, but we're under budget by about 45,000. So that's where we're starting to close out this year. Those numbers will change a bit. Obviously that was done in May, and then we had a month and a half of some stuff coming out of it, but we did pretty well with that. Do you have any questions at the moment on that portion of it? So
Pretty straightforward.
So pulling that, moving forward with that, I'll go over the breakdown of this fiscal year and then I can sort of get into the buckets of our funds and where we're at. The temporary art walk is installed and this fiscal year we won't have any new installs. But we will want to open up a call for art in October, September. If it's approved through you that we want to continue. That call for art and some marketing, I expect that to be about $1,000. Arts Roundtable, I lowered that to 2,000 for this next fiscal year. I think we could do about 3 times a year for that. Live at Juilliard, I upped that to 12,000 because we just went a little over last year and we're pretty tight. I'd like to do some marketing around that. Marketing and outreach, social media ads, Live at Juilliard, temporary art. Again, I'd love to look at doing some at the Smart Station and different newsletters. 8,000. Continuing on with the plaques.
By putting Live at Juilliard under, so you were saying that you wanted to do marketing and outreach for Live at Juilliard. So you're just listing out what you.
Oh yeah, for marketing outreach for Live at Juilliard, and Live at Juilliard bands and sound come to, bands are 6,600 for MC. And then I think the sound was 4,000 or 5,000 something. So the 12,000 gives us just a little bit of a buffer.
Okay.
Art identification plaques, moving back over that 10,000 to see if we could complete that this year. Program initiatives, I have the 20,000 in here. That would be withdrawn next fiscal year. That was approved. And then I also added in an additional 20,000, just if there is another project that we think we want to either support or develop a committee if there's a certain initiative that you think would be great to take on this year. Maintenance, again, I've put in another 15,000. This is separate from what we've spent this fiscal year. I've included the intern in here with the staff costs at 53,000 altogether. I'll review with you our financials after. I'm not planning on hiring an intern right away. We have not been getting in that many fees, development fees, and I'd like to see that grow before we spend. It was great to have an intern. She completed that map for us. So while that was wonderful, it's also been nice to have. I want to make sure our budget's growing. Public art master plan update, keeping that in there just as keeping it on our radar. It would be great to do. And then conferences and trainings. So all of that totals at 144,100. Again, I don't expect to do the intern right away. And there's another 20,000 in there that has not been actually approved through a project work plan through you. So, but those are just placeholders if something comes our way. The additional ongoing projects we have right now, we have Fire Station 5 Public Art. That's a separate funding source, and we're meeting with the installers here on Thursday. And so I hope to have more of the actual install date, but the art's been completed. So it's really exciting. The Highway 101 overcrossing, 50,000 was approved from the Public Art Fund. And I think Lisa, you mentioned that maybe 60, and I haven't actually looked at that yet to number. I've
Okay.
had 50 on here, so I'm going to confirm it was 50.
I'll have to look and find my notes again.
But that's yet to be encumbered in these numbers. So if that's a project we want to take on, we have to, really look at like what we have and where that will be coming out of. The Asawa panels, great news of actually 6 have been now completed. So
That's
yeah,
Great.
really exciting. So we're now looking at moving those up to here and what a temporary display for the Santa Rosa panel would look like. So this actually should be updated. We only have about 10,000 remaining in their contract now, because that was just last week we finished their payment. So, Colgan Creek mural, the artist Desi has signed his contract. I'm meeting with him tomorrow on what the installation timeline looks like. He's now starting to meet with the tribal council and all of that. And he will need to come here for a final approval of that mural. So you will see that again, and I'll have a further update, probably the next meeting, because I'm meeting with him tomorrow and I'll start to understand our timelines. Their Brookwood mural, I'm still waiting on their final project design of that. And then that has to go to the police chief for approval. And then I'll hopefully have an install date. So any questions on those projects?
Yeah, so the conferences and trainings, you had 3,000 in the current fiscal year, but only spent 750. So are you anticipating actually attending?
No, we've had that in our budget since before I started. We've always allocated, it's all out of the same fund.
Yeah.
But there's always been a 3,000 allocated for staff for conferences and trainings. Unless something comes up that is really notable, I don't anticipate. And I'm not sure if I'll go to the California Arts Council one next year. I have it in a slide too, and we can talk about that as more of a discussion item if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, you didn't get to go.
I know,
But-
I was looking for you.
To the
Yeah, but
recap.
yeah, I got paid from a different pot, but it was great to see you there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. And we'll go over that on my arts and culture update.
So I would say, I just want to recommend if there is $3,000 in the budget, looking for opportunities
Mhm.
that could be professionally useful. I would say if, oh, geez, we really need to put that money somewhere else, utilize it a different way. But I do think those conferences can be really useful.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think my concern sometimes is I want them to be useful, and I don't want to either one, take the money from the public art fund and utilize it for something that I don't see as like really key on our role here. It's really great networking going to those conferences. So if you do come across anything that you think that I should be aware of, do let me know, because we do have some money set aside that I could go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I had a question about the term encumbered here in relating to the 101 overcrossing. Could you describe a little bit more what that would mean for our next year of programming?
So encumbered is if it's been placed in hold in our account. So usually if you're in contract with someone, it will get encumbered, so you don't see it in your balance. So right now, we haven't set that money aside, so that 50,000 is actually in right now the 271,466 in the public art fund available as of 5/11/26.
Okay.
50,000 would come out of that 271. And so that's something to be mindful of, as if we were to spend the 144,100. Now that's out of all of this, which is 447. Our public art and private development fees have not been that high. So we received in $24,100 in the 1% fees. That's very low.
That's very low.
However, we're still waiting on about 40,000. So that gets us up to what? 64,000, let's just say 65. Normally we budget getting in between 75 or 100,000.
Okay.
So people have been looking to place more art on site. Dave and Buster's did art on site. And so we are now starting to look at other ways. Some cities and communities, they do a discount if you pay the fee, right? Because as much as we want to see art on site, we also do need, that sustains our program. So that will probably be an item I'll bring back to you at some point this year, is like looking over our policy, especially if this number's not growing. Because this is what's sustaining a lot of our program and staffing, et cetera. So right now we have, so we're receiving $10,000 from Citywide Art. That's the 1% of CIP projects. The National Arts Program, it's its own code because they give us checks that we distribute and fund that. So it's its own separate thing. The public art and private development one, that's the revenue's been only 24,000. And right now the encumbrances is the Asawa panels, and then we have the sound for Live at Juilliard. That's still encumbered. There was a remainder that's going to be for beginning of July. And then the arts and parks fees. Arts and parks has to be used for any public art in parks. So it cannot be used for marketing or admin fees. But I'll most likely be taking the 6,000 artist stipends for Live at Juilliard performers out of that, because that's a public art in park. And that may be something we'll want to look at next year. Is, it grows slowly, 20,000 a year plus or minus. So it's not good. I don't want to spend the whole thing, but is there a project that could be a substantial 40, 50,000 that we could do in a park that maybe has gone unnoticed? Or I'll be taking Martine's Butterfly, the 10,000 out of that. So we're doing well. The way I'm budgeting is for the next 2 or 3 years, looking ahead, because after this next fiscal year, at the end of 27, we'll have the new artwork installs for the temporary art walk, if that's approved, and we have the remaining payments from the de-installs. So there'll actually be chunks coming out of that. So hoping for those development fees.
Great.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is there any opportunity to use finances from the art and parks bucket towards maintenance of the Prince Memorial Greenway?
No, it says in our policy, and I just reviewed this because I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
It says very clear that the public art and private development fees, public art code, can be used for maintenance, staffing, marketing. The art and parks is very clear. It's only to be used for public art. It doesn't mean, it says public art in parks. So maybe one could argue, well, the maintenance of the art.
Beautifying the art or
Yeah, I
extending the
can
light.
check with coworkers and see how they read it. To me, it read pretty clear that it was just to be used for public art itself. Not the, and the other ones clarify maintenance, because the other ones clarify the other items. I would think it would just be used for the install and de-install of art.
Just curious if that was a flexibility that we had.
I'll ask.
Is there a mechanism that you could go through in order to clarify the terms and maybe get a percentage that's allocated for maintenance.
For
Yeah.
the policy. That would be a
Yeah,
policy
Yeah,
update,
yeah, policy update.
Because the
Maybe
definition
there
of,
was a term for it.
oh, and I know why, because the definition of public art in our policy, and that's what I pulled, and the definition of public art
Okay.
is what we would think of, any type of media of art being created in a park or something, and
The
so
public space.
that's why it couldn't.
So the
Yeah,
creation.
so that would be a policy update if we did that.
Yeah,
And so yes, it's a potential, and maybe we look at both our arts policy and our public art ordinance together at some point this year.
Yeah.
It's possible, because that fund, it could be temporary or permanent though, right? So and we've got a lot of great park space. Yeah, so that's my review for today on that. Do we have any other questions, comments? Back.
yes, any questions, comments? Concerns?
All of mine were answered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, very thorough, thank you.
yeah.
So I believe we need a vote to approve this, is that correct? Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 26-27 work plan as presented. Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 26-27 work plan presented by Meredith.
I will second that.
Very good. We have a motion and second to approve the plan. Any discussion? Comments, questions?
I have a
Continuing
discussion.
Discussion.
Yeah, as it comes to, I'm good with the number that we're setting aside for program initiatives. Just want to go over process for how we talk about proposals for programs and if what the best way is to entertain those. I guess when we're doing the budgeting, if we know if something's coming on board, or what would be the best way to kind of think about using
Like
that?
utilizing this.
Mhm.
We could do an agenda item if there's a discussion of what we want program initiatives to be for the year. Some of these come up sort of to my desk through public art proposals, similar to the ones for the Cree-style exhibit. The next agenda item you'll see is a utility box project that was brought to my attention from different stakeholders in the community. And I'm not recommending the funding, just sort of more of a explore this option. So if you wanted to together do an agenda item, maybe for the next meeting of, hey, what are our program initiatives and what are the spaces that we want to start focusing on? I think that could be a good start, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll add that this time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other comments or questions, discussion? Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve the fiscal year 26-27 work plan. Jeff, I think we're up to a vote.
I believe so. All righty, Chair Nathanson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keever,
Aye.
Committee Member Puentes,
Aye.
and Committee Member Peters. Let the record reflect the motion passes unanimously.
That was easy. Yeah, thank you, Meredith.
Yeah.
For your hard work and for your
Yeah.
clear explanation.
Yeah. Well stated. Okay, we're up to item 7.2, utility box wraps.
Great. All right. Hold on a second here. That's great. Jack, I always need your help. Okay, got it now.
You got it.
Okay, let's see. Sounds a PowerPoint.
Beautiful.
Okay. All right. So today I'll be presenting an overview of a utility box wrap project that has been brought forward by multiple stakeholders in the community that they would like to see. And so it's just a brief overview as a discussion item, and if available, to put together an ad hoc committee to assist me with this. So the purpose and vision is to transform everyday infrastructure into public art that tells a story of Santa Rosa. And I'm sure we've all seen many utility boxes in cities and counties around town. Some are painted, some are wrapped. I highly encourage doing the vinyl wrap. You can anti-graffiti coat it. It looks very clean. It takes a little bit longer on the design, but it can look very nice. The goal of this would be about telling the history of the neighborhoods, the cultures and identities that make our city special. One of the items that's in our next arts and culture overview with the Arts Roundtable, reviewing those notes, it was talking a lot about the cultural identity of Santa Rosa and the different histories we have and stories. I've been meeting with the Santa Rosa Historical Society, and they're very interested in partnering on this along with the museum. So it wouldn't just be your typical utility box wrap of a painting. It could really have a sense of place and history and speak to Santa Rosa and who we are. We could also do it walkable. It could have a QR code. It could go to a history walk. I think there's a lot of options here. And these are just a few some locations of them. I think we could expand. I think that we could go down Santa Rosa Ave, potentially start to incorporate South A Street. I think this is a really good opportunity for that. Some of the ideas of potential themes could be at JG Way. That's our sister city connection. There's a utility box there highlighting that. Comstock Mall was the original Chinatown, right? Basically where we're sitting over here. Luther Burbank, the film history, architecture, Indigenous history, Railroad Square, etc. So I think there's just a lot of options here, but we have such a rich history to be told. I also love the idea personally of like going somewhere and you see, it gives you a sense of place, like, oh, this happened right here, and you can do the history. So whether it's visitors or residents, you're still like learning about our surroundings. And also we have such a rich culture of all of this.
You know, it's years ago we started talking about this kind of concept at the museum, and Tara and I had, I think, probably 2 meetings
Okay.
just to see if we could kind of get something going.
I've spoke with them about this already.
Yeah,
They're
and I think
interested.
that was all before COVID, to be honest. So
That's great.
Yeah.
And I was at a tour at the museum recently with our team, and I saw some of the artifacts they had. I think it was on some old luggage that came over, and maybe there was something from the old
Oh, yeah.
Chinatown. Oh, that'd be really neat to photograph it and have that around a utility box. So I think we could be really creative of the type of art, almost seeing it as like an art history
Mhm.
pieces as well.
So I'm curious too. I know that there were public art projects, especially like I'm thinking about Chinatown. There was a proposal that I guess is shifted now, but are there existing proposals or projects in the works that could be coordinated with this kind of effort? You know, whether it's at Jeju Way and there's artwork there that exists, or Chinatown.
Jeju Way, we have our sister city connection, which we actually have a lot of art from them in City Hall as well. So that's another project I've been diving into, is restoring that relationship and really bringing light to what we have there. We do have the 2 lighted art pieces in JG Way right now, but there's a utility box right there. And then we obviously have the woman with a water jug that we've been working on trying to restore. The fountain, we can't repair it. So now we're looking at different options. But obviously we want to keep that there because it's a gift from them. The original Chinatown, they are doing an event. We had the mural by Chris McKee that was installed, and then they're going to be doing an event in July there. So yes, I think
So they are
that,
tying
yes, I think
together.
that there's a lot of these different partnerships that are just already naturally forming. And so we could get all of those key stakeholders in this to really give insight onto what would best be fit. it's better when people feel like it's also their own and they're involved with this as well, especially when it comes to our culture and diversity, right?
Great.
Um, so for the next steps, so this has been a project that for maybe the last year I've had on my mind. I've met with different stakeholders. Our team has started to do some digging into what the cost would be, but to be honest, we get pulled in many different directions. So I wanted to see the availability to form an ad hoc committee to assist with the program design and box selection, to look at the costs and potential grant opportunities, work with the Historical Society and additional partners, and then return to APPC with a potential project work plan. I'm saying potential because maybe we put it together and you end up deciding you didn't want to move forward with it for some reason. Potential work plan to consider. I imagine this kicking off as a virtual meeting with the ad hoc committee and some potential stakeholders of evaluating the costs first of getting, how much does it cost to wrap a box? It's normally, from my knowledge, it's around between $2,000 to $4,000. And then there's also artist stipends. This could potentially be something that we design ourselves because we're not actually contracting a painter to do it. We're looking at maybe old photographs and, but we'd want it very well done and well designed. So old photographs, if you enlarge them pretty big, they're going to be blurry.
Mhm.
So we have to be creative about this. So my recommendation is to form an ad hoc committee, if available, with 2 or 3 members to assist with the utility box project.
Okay, any volunteers? I would volunteer for the committee. Anybody else?
I'm very interested in volunteering, but I want to understand when the kickoff might be or I guess like when
Yeah.
meetings might happen.
I think it'd be up to if there's 2 or 3 of you, your schedules, and maybe we could, after this meeting, we could sit and look at our schedules together. I could really use assistance with like, figuring out the costs, measuring boxes. Some of our team members can do that too. And then maybe one big meeting in July with the additional stakeholders. And then assisting with the project plan to bring back to APPC, let's say, maybe by August, September. It's not a rush of a project, but I think that, because I want to do it really well if we
Yeah.
do this.
I'm interested too. I do have a lot of questions, so, do we
Well,
need to?
Ask a question.
Okay. So my question would be, when we have these organizations, museum, the Historical Society, and additional partners possibly working together, and then you're thinking of artists too, if we're deciding to use a lot of photography that's already in place, and that's probably with the Historical Society and stuff, how are we incorporating these artists and what exactly these artists are going to do? Are they more just the placement? I mean, because they're not really putting in their own art per se.
Exactly. So
Okay.
I don't know, it's still broad on what the scope of this could be.
Okay.
Right? I've done some sort of research on different designs, whether you have, an old photo and then it merges into something more contemporary. It could be something of the Chinese dragon, of some history, and then a really cool painting of something modernized. We would want it to, we'd want it to look very good. So,
Yes.
and I'd like it to look more unique than your typical utility box that we see in other cities. I think we have a really, really great history here to highlight. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay.
From my experience, working with the museum here, but also other organizations, it sounds to me like what we really could use is a designer, a graphic designer who is part of the team or hired to figure out the technicalities. So I've been involved with the utilization of a lot of photography or photographing objects in a collection and then having to enlarge them to a scale for an exhibition or whatever. It's very doable. We just need some expertise as an advisor.
Correct.
And so if we can,
And that's a great point.
whether it's through us or the city,
Mhm.
or it's somebody who is on contract with the museum, I don't think really matters whose designer it is, just so that they're working with us.
I agree, and I think
as a
those will
collaborative
come
team.
up through the ad hoc committee when we sit and say, what is the project plan and the scope, and what are all of these needs that we're going to have to look, and then what are those estimated costs?
Does the city have a graphic designer on staff?
Not on staff. We do have someone in contract that I had assist with the temporary art walk map, just the actual map itself. So we can pull from, we have a master professional service list. So of people already we could pull from.
And I know that there's a great designer who works with the museum, worked with him on several different exhibitions and also the exterior signage, that whole project that the museum did recently. So, yeah, as long as we have that expertise as an advisor and help us move our ideas forward, then I feel confident that we'll figure things out as when we meet and we.
Yeah, and I understand, schedules and, commitments. So if you want to sign up for the ad hoc committee but can't make all the meetings, or, I can add you as optional. That's okay too. Don't feel that, I'd love to have you there, but I also understand it'd be great to have representation as you help me develop this and then availability.
I'll just mention that my contract in Richmond terminates at the end of June. So that's why I'm feeling a little bit more available to volunteer. So month of June is going to be a little tricky, but after that, I should have time.
I imagine this being starting more of July. I'm gone for about.
I got
June too.
that sense, so.
Yeah.
So
Great.
Lisa, you on board?
Yeah, yes, absolutely, yes, I'm actually pretty excited about it, but I was trying to get my head on how it's going to work, but I think the more we get these other organizations talking and seeing what their ideas, then I think we can actually put some kind of concrete plan together on what needs to be done and get this going and have all of our input on it, so.
Yeah, great.
And Kristen, you want to be on it?
Yes, I would like to, but if you could put the caveat of, optional or when available. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. That's
I'm
okay,
also
too.
interested, but I don't need to be on it, so if something happens to someone,
Okay.
I'm happy to.
Okay.
So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, great.
I saw it on the agenda and I was like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
It's been on my list for a while to bring forward, and we've had so much going on.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see it moving
Okay.
forward. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's-
that's cool.
Like I said before, it's been talked about for quite a few years.
Ours have a lot of graffiti on it, on some of these, so I've already gotten photos of a lot of them. We just haven't gotten the measurements, and I've started
Can we
mapping
just
out
give
some
graffiti
ideas.
artists instructions that it has to have a reference to a historical
Yeah.
theme?
Yeah.
You can graffiti this wall, but it has to be about,
Yeah.
the history of Chinatown.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Do we need a motion to correct,
We
Do, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion from a member of this committee to form an ad hoc subcommittee to explore the utility box wraps and history and culture project presented by Meredith. Anybody want to make the motion?
So moved. I will make the motion.
Okay, moved by Kristen. Come on, Lauren.
Oh, I second. I was gonna make the motion, but I was like, do I have to say?
No.
No, okay, I can just say.
What he said.
Yeah, great, okay.
Okay,
Now
good.
I know moving
Jack, did you get
forward.
all of that?
Yes,
So it's been moved and seconded to form an ad hoc committee um, to work on the utility box wraps, history and culture project. Any more discussion about it? No, then let's vote.
All righty, Chair Nathanson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer.
Aye.
Committee Member Puentes.
Aye.
And Committee Member Peters.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that the motion passes unanimously.
Great. We have a committee.
Thank you.
Is that technically a subcommittee or a committee?
Ad hoc committees.
Ad hoc
I mean, I don't
committee.
know. A
mean-
subcommittee would be, is that a yearly?
Yeah, I think we would consider it an ad hoc because
Yeah.
this is an established body and then it's an unofficial thing. A subcommittee, we have subcommittees of council
Yeah.
that meet as a
Got it.
active
Got
body.
it.
Mhm.
All right, I just want to make sure that the motion is ad hoc committee.
Very good, yep.
Let's get the terminology correct. All right, thank you.
So let me. Did we need public comment?
I mean, we can just say there's no one here and we'll.
Somebody came in and left, had no comment.
Our work plan. Or no, was it the work plan?
I believe it was multiple agendas.
Okay, oh, okay,
It was like old agendas, maybe not.
weird. All right.
Maybe it was, oh, this isn't the commission that I thought it was.
Looked at the agenda. Wrong room.
What, this isn't the planning commission? What just happened? Okay, we're moving on to 7.3 arts and culture update. This is a report for information only. Meredith.
All right, notes. We have the Live at Juilliard's band has been announced. They're available on our website. I've also included links here. This starts in just a little over a month on July 12th. So the 6 Sundays, bands start at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. If you're interested in volunteering, please let me know. We'll have our art booth there. A few of us staff will be there, but it would be great to have a BPC present. So if you can make it, please let me know. And I hope to see you there. We're really excited. I'll be sharing the events on social media. Please share. We'll be doing some sponsored ads as well.
And what time should we show up before going to come?
Let me know because we have different staff each day. There's usually only 2 or 3 of us working.
Okay.
It starts at 5, so if you can volunteer and starting around 3 or 4, it's moving the garbage cans out, setting up the pop-up tents, making sure the food vendors have things and things are in place. That would be great.
Yeah.
It's our 31st year, which is exciting. As mentioned in our work plan, the GIS map of the permanent collection is now live. So this has, I believe, I should have written it down, maybe 70 or so pieces of art. It does not have all of them. So there's the artwork on Prince Memorial Greenway that is being repaired, and I'm waiting to get good photos of that. I was also made aware as well recently the artwork that was donated at the fire stations. During, I believe it was right after the fires, there was a couple pieces there. I'm not sure if you know about that, but I think there's one here, a heart with flames. There's one by the
One Stony
courtyard.
Point.
That one wasn't
Were they
donated.
not donated?
No, that one was, we did a request for,
Oh, we purchased it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty.
I was just saying
Yeah.
donated. I
I think you're right. I think it's
I think it was
permanent.
permanent.
Yes, because I
Okay.
remember voted because it was still, people were touchy about any kind of fire and I
Yes.
wanted to
I
make sure that it was gonna be okay and how the community felt.
Okay.
Um,
I haven't looked at.
Yeah, it was received
I
okay.
was just, I misspoke.
No,
I
no,
hadn't
no,
even
no,
looked
that's
at what it
fine.
was yet. I
You
thought it was
wouldn't have.
donated because I didn't see it on our permanent art collection list. But those will need to be added in. So
Okay.
there's still going to be some items. So if you can review and let me know, if besides the Prince Memorial Greenway and those, if there's any other items that you feel like are missing. We are now, the next step is to do the public art and private development map, and that's big. because we have a lot of murals. So this is just technically all city-owned, right? So now it's the ones that are on private development, which I'm really excited about that map because that's a very large map. It will be integrated in the same one, so it'll just be tabs at the top, so you can select which tab, and you could see the different collections.
I'm questioning with that too, is would that art be only within Santa Rosa city limits or within places that have a Santa Rosa address but are not necessarily within the city limits?
It would be within the city limits because
Okay.
anything that puts art, using the public art and private development fees to put art on site, that has to be in the
Okay.
city limits. Now, if this group decides, hey, we want to just show all art that has a Santa Rosa address, that could be a discussion item. So I'm open to what you think. But for now, any public art that's in our collection that we own is in the city limits.
Okay.
Okay, great. And this came up a while back, but I just want to remind us that we had talked about also repairing or replacing, or in some cases, placing a plaque to identify all of the works that are in the public. Because I know that most of them are identified, but not everything.
And that was in our work plan, remember
Yeah.
the art identification
Yeah,
plaque? So
yeah.
now that this is done, we'll probably start with these,
Mhm.
and then we'll design a plaque with a QR code that goes directly to this map.
Great.
The other thing I'm looking at doing too is audio of the artists talking, because you could embed that in here. So if they go to the piece and then they could press play, and then there could be a little audio from that artist talking about their piece, which I think would be cool too.
That's great.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, our arts intern, that is now, she's working as a civil tech engineer. Is that her role?
I believe that is
Full-time.
correct.
Yeah, so we're really proud of her, and she worked very hard on this, so it's a good project for her. And so when we do reopen up the intern role, I imagine that if this still needs to be done, this is a really great project for someone with GIS experience. Connecting with community. So we had 2 events in April that we attended. One was our Arts Roundtable Ad Hoc Committee, went to Raises Collective, and this was on April 8th. The turnout was small. It was maybe 6 or 7 in attendance. However, I left very, it felt very good, and that I learned a lot through it. It was interesting. We split into 2 different groups. One was more nonprofit focused and one was artist focused, and a lot of the same key takeaways. I have a couple here, and then I'd like people on the ad hoc committee also to maybe talk about your experience, because we actually haven't connected since that. The key themes I have is making arts opportunities more accessible and welcoming, increasing the visibility of underrepresented cultures and stories, supporting local artists with funding, training, and space. They talked a lot about like a how-to, building trust, reducing barriers for participation, creating more community-centered multilingual programming. We talked a lot about long-term and short-term goals, more youth involvement, ongoing cultural arts programming. It was interesting from this, and we'll talk a bit about the California Arts Council Summit. A lot of it has been focused on more of this like cultural identity, culture sharing, and different types of art, not just your typical areas for dance, areas for storytelling. We talked about some of the, you go down into Mexico and you walk the streets and you see people dancing, you see people performing, and the art's being created. And we lack that here, and it would be great to see here. So how do we start to integrate that into our community? Barriers for participation, financial barriers. They discussed complex grant and reporting requirements. A lot of our grants, most of them, you receive the funds after you have the event, and it's a reimbursement based, which there's reasons for that, right? But in order, is there maybe a way we could give some funds up front for deposits, et cetera? So those are items that we'll look into. Language barriers, multilingual support. We did have multilingual support there. Anna Horta, our team went for translation. Limited gathering and performance spaces, a need for space. Santa Rosa is perceived as not very walkable. And then participants suggested step-by-step guides, visual flow charts, simplified grant and permit processes, translation, instruction, workshops on grants, event permitting, technology and applications, accessing city resources. And I apologize, I should have had this as an attachment, but I didn't get around to completing it in time. More dance and music in parks and public spaces, outdoor theater, interactive programming, cultural festivals, expanding space and use of community gatherings. So what I loved about it was all about community and feeling connected. It wasn't about, I want to show my art and just get paid for it. It was really about building community, which I thought was great. And I think that's exactly where we're going, what we should be doing. So,
Yeah, I saw Isabel Lopez in Sacramento,
Me
which
too.
was at the,
Yeah.
and we actually spent a good part of the first afternoon together, and she really appreciated
Good.
the opportunity to, talk to you and
Mhm.
us. So it sounded like it went really well.
Can we have a copy of what that you just, if possible, or
I'll send it out to the ad hoc and maybe attach it to the next meeting. Is that okay, Jack? Meeting
Sure.
notes?
I mean, if you want to provide information to the committee members regarding the
From a meeting,
programs,
from a
that's-
program?
Yeah, from a program, that's
Okay.
fine to say, hey, this
Yeah.
is what we have.
that was
Yeah.
really a
Send it
lot
to-
of good points there.
Mhm.
She,
Much more than my,
yeah.
much more than my key takeaways. It was time to put it
I
together.
really like that, and I like what it represented.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I thought it was a really neat opportunity for discussion to talk about places that they would like to use in terms of civic spaces that could be good
Yeah.
spaces for different types of events. And so they wanted some help with pairing like, hey, this park would be a suitable location for this type of dance event. Or
Mhm.
so there was some inquiry about, hey, how can we get more information from you guys about how we can do this easier?
The Turk Brown Barn, Bear Farm,
Bear Farms.
Farm, kitchen. Came up
Yes.
in
Yeah.
both groups had the
Yes.
You
same
mentioned that.
things, and I thought that was,
Yeah.
I would have never guessed going into it. You feel like you'd be able to already write what people are going to say, and it was
Yeah.
completely different, and that's why I loved it.
I liked that they talked about the opportunity to host workshops
Mhm.
and to teach people how to be more connected with their space. And I
Mhm.
thought that was a really neat thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I would show up to those. So yes, please.
Yeah, it was cool.
Sounds great.
It was good.
So I don't know. if you
Anything
have
else, Lauren?
I was trying to think, unfortunately, my brain is not working at this time, and I'm like, what? That was so long ago. That's just like so many months ago
Bless
now
you.
in my brain. I'm like, oh, yeah. But no, it was really nice. It was, there was a low attendance, but I thought the people who did come were
Invested.
engaged and invested.
That's how I felt leaving
And
it too.
it's always, I kind of think that's better, to be honest.
And for this one, we did not extend the invite out to the community. While community would have been welcomed, we did want to focus on their community. And the ad hoc team, I actually haven't had a time to circle back to them after this. So we'll be meeting again to re-review and bring it maybe forward to our next meeting here on ideas for the next one. The other opportunity we had was on April 20th. Mackenzie and I attended the California Arts Council Summit, and this was in Sacramento, and Jeff attended. And Kristen, I was so sorry that you couldn't attend. The talks that I went to, and I couldn't even remember, so I had to reprint this out for a bit. Creative Economies in Action, the report out, educators reimagining public art and public space. I was really interested in to see how we're working with the JC on what are other people doing, what are educators doing. So I wanted to put myself in that mindset. So like, how could I then assist there? And then climate There were some speakers there from LA about the climate issue and, you know, with the arts and what that's doing more for the economy and the community. So Jeff, I'll be interested to hear your feedback from it. I thought it was good. I'm going to be honest, I was a little disappointed in sort of the outcomes of the talks. I wanted to be more like, here's some really cool tools and you need this, and this, or these are some really good ideas. I actually think as the city here, we're already doing really well in comparison to other cities. I've had calls, I met with Davis and a couple other cities after that meeting just to discuss programs. Also teach them sort of what we're doing here and we've been implementing. So I do think we're leading the way in many ways. I was hoping to learn more about the climate and what cities are doing. But I learned more about really the economy and how it's affecting, you know, these businesses and these arts businesses. And it's been really difficult down in LA. Obviously, they had the fires too, so that's been devastating. But Jeff, I'd love to learn sort of your feedback and takeaways.
Yeah, I think the recurring theme from the plenary session that kicked off the whole thing through a lot of the workshops, and I guess I was focused on economy and funding. That was really a main interest for me being there. And one of the things, and this was really actually the day after the California for the Arts Summit, which was on a Monday. And then the next day was Arts Advocacy Day. And so I went with a team to meet with legislators. And so the focus the California Arts Council wanted us really looking at for that advocacy day was the increasing of the California Arts Council budget, which is really a legislative issue. You know, the state legislature has to increase the budget. So California Arts Council is celebrating its 50th year of existence. They want the budget to go to $50 million. It's currently $24 million, which is significantly less than it has been in past years. But then on I guess a more localized level, the economy is impacting, as you just said, Meredith, it's impacting artists and businesses, the creative economy. And so there's the system is broken. And I kept hearing this over and over again. It's like the system as it's been has just created a climate for struggle for creative people, creative organizations. And so one of the sessions I attended was creating culture hubs. And I thought that was actually something that could be of interest to Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
I was wearing two hats because I was also there representing Richmond. But Richmond actually has an arts corridor project it's actively being designed, and I'm on the team and we're working on it with the ultimate goal of connecting the arts organizations and businesses and creating an improved downtown environment that is better for business, better for the creative economy, and becomes more of a destination for the wider public. And we sort of have versions of that here, but the creative hub model the culture hub model that was in the session I attended really looked at several different cities where they really did a master plan and they kind of figured it out so that the restaurants and various stores and art studios and a live work building and all of
I would
these.
love to, if you have any presentation slides from that.
I'd have to go back and look, but but the concept is really, okay, you really focus on a place. It's really placemaking.
Well, and as we look at the utility boxes, as I was saying, our culture and our history, and maybe I like the term culture hub, like we're starting to look not just at that box itself, but we're looking at that entire area. Okay, how are we gonna start to integrate what the culture was or is here?
Yeah, but really the main driving purpose for the creation of culture hubs, but also a lot of the other workshops and speakers, we're talking about reimagining the economy so that it supports the creative community and creates an economic culture around arts funding and support of the arts. And so in theory, I think it's just great to talk about it, but I didn't come away with, okay, this is what everybody has to do in order to really start shifting the narrative around funding for the arts.
I did get the first talk I went to, the creative economy, was that the economic development grants, artists need to start seeing themselves as a business because they're a business.
Right.
And a lot of times artists are going after artist grants, they're not going after the business grants, but the funding for businesses in the state of California is a lot larger than the funding for artists or whatever. I forget exactly what funds she was talking about, small businesses. And so for artists to go into it as a small business mindset, not the artist, and there's more funding available.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're a small business.
Well, meanwhile,
Yeah.
I sort of misspoke a little bit because there was one action, and this really came out of the next day, the Arts Advocacy Day, but and any of us receiving the California for the Arts or California Arts Advocates emails, we were seeing it day after day, week after week. Call, write, advocate for the $50 million for the CAC. And so I shared some social media posts and I forwarded the emails to the board of directors of the Richmond Arts Center and all the staff, and we put, and the Richmond Arts Center put it in our e-newsletter. And I didn't think to do that for APPC because I think, was it you or maybe it was Tara? Somebody took the same email that I was forwarding.
Tara sent out the email.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
never.
was Tara.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's a really important thing for those of us who are really working in the arts to do is like, if there's an advocacy effort that can help with funding or, there have been issues of censorship or other kinds of issues that have come up over and over again. We can't just sit on our butts and do nothing. If there's something that you can forward, if you can, call your assembly member. Oh yeah, and I actually saw Chris Rogers. We had a really nice chat.
Good.
Yeah, so he's in Sacramento. He can do stuff for us.
I know.
And I didn't get to see Mike McGuire, but we met with his chief of staff.
Good.
Yeah. So we have advocates locally and in Sacramento working on our behalf, and that's good.
And they have a lot of grant opportunities too. So we've been reviewing those, and I'd encourage you to go on their website and take a look for whether your arts organizations, other artists, junior college artists, et cetera, just to know what's available. All right, so yeah, those were both in April. So April was pretty busy, and May was as well, because now we're here on June 1st. And that is my update for today.
Great, thank you. Okay, we are up to item number 8, committee reports. Committee members are welcome to make general comments or remarks at this time. Anybody?
Tomorrow is the first Luther Locals Live at the Luther Living Center. It's the next 9 Tuesdays. It's free. It's 5 to 7. It's out in the pavilion, which is the tent in the field. So it's like you can bring a picnic and hang out, or like, bring a blanket, I should say. And then there's food and drinks you can buy and stuff. And then there's a bunch of bands, but yeah, it's quite fun.
Yeah, cool.
Popular, but yeah.
And those are every Tuesday over the summer?
Yeah,
for 9
yeah,
Tuesdays?
there's not, between now and like the end of July, basically. It's June and July, all the Tuesdays.
Okay.
Yep, 5 to 7, and it's free to attend. And then obviously there's.
And
food.
is,
Great.
and what, it's music that,
Mhm.
okay, and then is there a list of the?
Yeah, on our website, you can see all the bands
Okay,
that are playing. A few have played before that are playing at Juilliard this year. There's a couple that are, or at least one that's playing at Juilliard this year and at ours as well.
oh, okay, wonderful.
Yeah, but we got some good folks this year. Yeah, so
Cool.
that'll be fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Anybody else? Nothing going on?
If this meeting was last week, that would have been a different story. I just hosted a workshop with the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition where I was leading zine making. And so I
Oh, that's
hope
fun.
to do this kind of project in the future. So if you know of any group that's hosting an event that is looking for an arts project, please let me know because I would be very interested in translating this activity into education about trees or our ecology or really on any subject. You can
Reminds
make
me
a
of those story walks that, if you made those really big,
Yeah.
something to see, because those look really cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I don't have any art projects currently because I just finished one. So I'll keep y'all up to date on the next.
Well, similar to you, if this meeting had been 2 weeks ago, I would have told you about that I was performing at the Santa Rosa Arts Center, but that's 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
How'd it go?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was great.
Good.
where? In
In the gallery.
In the gallery?
So a year ago, I played a solo guitar half-hour set, just me and my guitar in the gallery, and it was great.
Cool.
It was a really rough week for the news cycle, so I let us sing along on the song For What It's Worth, since it's like, we got to sing a protest song and do something since the news is so bad. I didn't do that this time, but what I really wanted to recreate the improvisational music sessions that I frequented when I was living on the East Coast. And there was a jazz professor at Princeton University who hosted these events. And any musician with any kind of instrument, or even if you just wanted to clap your hands, like anybody could show up and play. So I put out an invitation that anybody could come and we're going to just see what happens. And it's kind of like controlled chaos. I have a method to my madness. So anyway, 5 musicians were there, including Terry Sanders, who's like a phenomenal guitarist and singer. And Terry and I have played together before. So we had 5 musicians, and we basically, I'm going to say we improvised rather than jam, because it was a little bit more. It wasn't jamming on like rock tunes. It was really different. Like we did one. I started off a piece that has a Middle Eastern motif, and so the whole thing went to the Middle East, and it was definitely not rock or American folk, and so that's the kind of thing that can happen. So it was fun. It was really
Good for you.
There were like, I don't know, 25 or 30 people showed up to listen, and a few musicians, and so I'll let you know in advance next time something like that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else announcements? Okay, and any announcements from the city about anything else going on? Great. Well, then we have got through the agenda, and it's not even 5 o'clock. So I think we're in good shape. So I think at this point, I'm going to just say this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.